Okay, I'm gonna hop right into this one. Tried to record a commentary last night, but my recording software changed the microphone and didn't save anything that I said. But this is a pretty quick match, pretty good match between Dwarves and Nurgle. Lots of punching, not a whole lot of scoring, should be pretty interesting, so just go ahead and get started. Okay, here we are. First off, just making a quick comment on the formations of the teams. We have Nurgle is going to be receiving first, so Dwarves is set up in defense. As you can see, put the linemen up on the front of the line of scrimmage, pretty good. I find it a little bit strange that the Death Roller is back like this. I don't really feel there's a need to force the Death Roller into a blitz, but I guess if you want to move him elsewhere just in case, who knows? I don't know. I probably would have just put him right on the line against the Beast because he's got 7 strength and nobody's going to stop him. Got your Troll Slayers and Blitzers on the side so they can kind of go in wherever they need to. So pretty good formation for the Dwarves here. I'll go ahead and take a look at what Nurgle player does. Primarily just doing what a Bashy team does and front loading all of your offense. Opening kick. Each team gets a bribe. Very good for the Dwarf player. Having a free bribe is excellent when you have a secret weapon like the Death Roller on the field. Opening hit from the Beast of Nurgle. It's not a both down knockout this time. Incredible. The Beast of Nurgle will live to see another day. Already uses a reroll with the Chaos Warrior. You're going to see in this match that the Dwarves get a lot of value out of having block on all of their players like this. Even though he's outclassed in strength in most areas by the Nurgle Warriors and the Beast of Nurgle, the fact that both down is still bad for those attacking players due to the block skill is very annoying for the Nurgle coach. So, this is some good stuff. Playing a bit to the right side of the field since the ball kind of landed over there. Probably going to go for a push on that edge. Marking the Dwarves where he can. Doesn't want them splitting off to reinforce. Picks up the ball with ease. And here we go. Turn 1 for the Dwarves. Now, of course, the Dwarves have some easy punches lined up. Stands up his players. First things, always take your safest actions first. Opens over the hit from the Blitzer. Just a push. Maneuvering the players to assist each other for those 2-die rolls. Always good. Blitzing with the Death Roller onto the Rodder. Gets a hit. Now you might think since the Death Roller is 7 strength, shouldn't you be hitting the higher strength players? Not necessarily. It does have Mighty Blow, so if you can hit enough Rodders and just kind of take them out of the match, a player off the team is a player off the team. Unfortunately, Foul Appearance stops that last hit there. End of the Dwarf turn, going back to Nurgle. Opens up with the Beast of Nurgle once again. Goes for the reroll. Unfortunately, Loner, both down. I would recommend when you're using big guys like this that have Loner and you're going to suffer these reroll penalties that you try and wait till the end of the turn to use them. Chances are you got a reroll, it's not going to work out. Anyway, back to the Dwarf player. Gets a knockout with the Death Roller, very nice. Dwarves typically win in a 2-to-1 grind. It's their normal strategy. Pick defense for the first half, slow down the enemy team as much as possible. If they get a touchdown, it's okay, but you're just looking to whittle away the opposition so you can set up for the second half and get 2 touchdowns pretty easily. Which is exactly what the Dwarf player is doing here, going for all the hits that he can. Already another KO on a Nurgle Warrior, which is devastating. Of course, Rodders are not particularly helpful on a Nurgle team. They just kind of do some marking. The Nurgle Warriors and the Pestigors are the real meat of the team. And some more easy hits for the Dwarves. Maneuvers Dwarf along, gets a mark on the ball. Already a pretty tough position for the Nurgle player. Early on in these leagues, when you're playing a bashy team like Nurgle, it can typically be pretty difficult because, you don't have a lot of skills yet, so. Even though you might have higher strength values and you might have you know, there's some advantages in the dice rolls. You're not necessarily going to be getting as many hits because you don't have block. You don't get as many injuries because you don't have mighty blow. It can be difficult. Especially when you go up against a team like Dwarves, everybody's starting with block and other skills. Makes it hard to contend with. Really pushing heavily to the right side of the field here, the Nurgle coach. Trying to kind of maneuver the Dwarf players to the left side of the field. His left, I should say, if I switch the view. Open up a position for his runner to get through. Has a bit of a cage going, so the Dwarves can't very easily get to the ball. Dwarf coach moving a player over to mark the Nurgle warrior and kind of cover that gap so the ball runner can't just go around. Goes for another hit with the death roller, this time on the beast of Nurgle. And it's a hit. Just hit after hit for the Dwarf coach. It's very difficult when you're playing offense into a team that has such a dice advantage like this, because especially when you're playing a Bashy team and you're trying to make that push, you want to end your turn with your players marking the opposition so you can hit them and move forward. But at the same time, when you end your turn like that, you're giving the defense the opportunity to hit you first, which is kind of what's happening repeatedly here. But in this situation, it's hard to do anything about that. Normally, the way that you would get around this is that you would play to a little bit more of a high agi game, but obviously Nurgle's not really open to that. Goes for a blitz with the ball carrier, knocks a dwarf out of the way, gets him to the other side of the field. All the other dwarves are marked up now, which gives a good opportunity for the Nurgle coach to exploit this gap and move forward. So currently looking pretty good for the Nurgle coach in this situation. The dwarf coach is going to have to find a way to respond and block off that Pestigore from moving forward. And another KO for the dwarf coach. Already just whittling the enemy team down. How many players are they missing? 3? Yeah. 3-player advantage this early in the game is pretty difficult to deal with. However, the Pestigore is still unmarked. They could start moving up the field. As the Nurgle coach moves him. Good thing to do that first. Goes next for the Beast of Nurgle Blitz. Like I said, a little bit risky though. Just trying to get some hits, I think. It's also nice to have the Beast of Nurgle in the middle of the mix. Beast Nurgle is very effective at tying enemy opponents down with the tentacle skill. So if you can have them in the thick of it, that's a good place for them to be. And unfortunately, I'm both down on Nurgle Warrior. That's a turnover. Another easy hit for the Death Roller, pushing the Beast of Nurgle away from his teammates, so they're no longer affected by that tentacle. Not that they were going to be dodging anyway. And now those dwarves are freed up. They managed to sprint over. But unfortunately, fails the going for it roll, and the dwarven player still does not have any rerolls. So, all you can get out of that is a mark, unfortunately. Pestigore going for the blitz and then the move. Manages to get the hit. Stays. Goes for the end zone. And trips. That's painful. Ball falls off the field, gets kicked back in. That's probably the worst possible thing that could happen to you when you go for a touchdown, and believe me, I've I've dealt with that. And now I don't want to talk about it. Death Roller goes in, still hitting the Beast and Nurgle, keeping away from the rest of his team. Probably could start going for the Rotters at that point, I think. Unlike the first match, the Dwarven player is actually getting a hell of a lot of value out of Death Roller this time. It's had it up for almost the entire drive already. And of course, right now, it's kind of in the Nurgle player's best interest to score a touchdown so he can get those knocked out players back up. Frenzy results in a 2 red die block against that Nurgle warrior, but unfortunately, they were very good rolls for the Dwarf player. Beast and Nurgle going back in again. Always moving the Beast and Nurgle first. I find this to be very risky. If you get a bad roll, you're just asking for a bad time. And unfortunately, a both down. No block on the Nurgle team. Still going for hits, the Dwarf player. Fortunately, gets a turnover. Something I'll say there. Of course, the Dwarves are not the best at these kind of strategies. They can't really trade the ball with other players, but something that could have been done there since the opponents were so effectively marked. I see an opportunity to have used your runner here to pick up the ball, possibly passed or handed off to the Blitzer, who does have 3 agi, you know, it's not the worst. Blitzer could have moved down the field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then possibly gone for a short pass. If you go to a handoff, yeah, to pick up the ball, go for a handoff, go over here, go for a short pass. Probably was going to fail it because of, unfortunately, in the disturbing presence. But could at least start working the ball down the field. I think at the very least, the Blitzer could have gotten a hold of the ball here and got it about halfway down the field. And considering there's 1 turn left, that would have left you with something of an opportunity. Maybe go for a touchdown there with the runner. I mean, 6 spaces away. Yeah, I don't know. A possibility, but punching is always good too. Like I said, in this first half of the game, Dwarves don't necessarily need to look to score, but you do have a pretty significant player advantage here, so I feel like you could afford to be a little bit ballsy with it. Nurgle player just trying to get some hits in and see if he can even out the playing field, but unfortunately it's just so difficult to hit these Dwarven players. You knock them down, they don't really get injured. Lots of armor, thick skull. It's tricky. That's the final turn for the Nurgle player, and here we are, final turn for the Dwarves. Goes and marks the Pestigore. Moving some players around for marking. Death Roller, both down, unfortunately. That's a turnover, but does get an injury on one of the Rotters. Very nice. Does it regenerate? It did not. Unfortunate. Luckily for the coach, that's only a niggling injury, which means that subsequent injury rolls are going to just be a little bit more severe, but doesn't cause any real penalty to the player for now. And it's a Rotter in the end, so who really cares? 2 Rotters back up, still missing that that Nurgle warrior though. Unfortunate. Alright, here at halftime, using that free bribe to keep the Death Roller in the game. Very nice. That's going to be a lot of trouble for the Nurgle player. Nurgle going for a pretty standard defense here. Does have a bit of gap though. Okay, fairly widespread aggressive formation here from the Dwarven player. Has the Death Roller on the line of scrimmage, which I like. Both teams get an extra reroll. Once again, very nice for the Dwarves, considering they don't have any rerolls. Unfortunately, that is a very bad kick for the Dwarves. Easy hit on the Rodder, but stays instead of following. Probably just to keep marking. Starts off making the safe plays, marking all the enemy players that they can. And then takes the runner and moves them back to go pick up the ball. Clean pickup. Goes for the last couple hits. Taking out that center line. Nurgle responds, goes for the first hit. Unfortunately, once again, moving with the Beast and Nurgle first, goes for the both down. It's really bad. Reroll does not pay off because of Loner. Dwarves start moving the ball up the right side of the field. Nice little formation in front of the ball carrier here ensures that there's probably not going to be any kind of interference going on. Once again, block coming into play. You're seeing block coming into play on almost all of these roles here. The Dwarves are getting a lot of use out of it this match. It's just such a nice thing to have. I mean, look at that. Boom, right there. Another one down. Goes for the Death Roller. Fortunately, just a push. 3 pushes. But I mean, what's a Nurgle player to do when every single player on the enemy team has block? It doesn't matter how many dice you can get. Now, unfortunately, the Dwarven player did have to use a reroll, the free reroll that they got on that foul appearance. Nurgle starts blitzing with the Beast of Nurgle, manages to hit the Death Roller for once. Stand firm ensures that it's not going anywhere, and unfortunately, no stun. Death Roller has some of the highest base armor in the game. I think it's tied with the Tree Man. Could be wrong on that one, but 10. I don't think anybody starts with more than 10. Couple free hits here and there, but nothing to worry about. Dwarves stand right back up and go right back to punching. Pretty easy gap to exploit here. You knock the Rodder to the left and you can immediately start moving the ball carrier through, but instead opts to move the Troll Slayer over. Push a Rodder forward. Still creates a gap. Ball carrier now does have clear access to the opponent's side of the field. But decides to stay on his side of the field, I guess. Goes for a couple more hits. I think you probably could have moved the runner up a bit more. At this point, you could afford to be more aggressive. Dwarves, I feel, have a significant advantage at this point in the match. Really stupid proc on the Beast and Nurgle. Unfortunate. We all roll ones eventually. Most of us. Ooh, and unfortunately fails the going for it roll. Rerolls. Alright, makes it after the reroll. Gets a hit on a dwarf. Pushing his Rodder into a bit of a precarious position here. It would be pretty easy for the dwarf player to sideline on the next turn. Or crowd surf. Keep saying sideline for some reason. But Nurgle player spots it. Gets that dwarf out of the way. 1 die roll now has somebody marking the ball carrier. Excellent. Now how did the dwarves respond? Immediately starts knocking some people away. Gets another KO on a Rodder. Very nice. Just tearing players off the field. Blocks with the ball carrier, probably didn't have to do that. Probably would have blitzed with the Troll Slayer here and used this Troll Slayer to hit that guy away so that you can move with the ball carrier. It is getting to the point in the match where you do kind of have to focus on getting a touchdown if you want to win. But there's always good fun to be had punching things. Unfortunately, another really stupid proc on the Beast and Nurgle. 50% chance on that one. Really need the handler first. Nurgle's trying to respond with some available hits, but there's not a whole lot to do at this point. Just buying time to avoid a touchdown, which Dwarves desperately need to get at this point in the match. 4 turns left. Dwarves don't move very fast. Blitzes for a block on the ball carrier, hits back towards the Dwarves. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I probably would have pushed him downwards towards the Dwarven end zone. Could have picked up with the Rodder next, but this kind of puts the ball in a bad position for the Nurgle player. Death Roller's up and punching once again. Dwarves start by clearing some players away from the ball. Goes for the pickup, sure hands. Gets the free reroll, starts moving it down the field. Nurgle's going to need to respond quickly to stop this one. Does not have a lot of players available to do that. Unfortunately, with the position that the Dwarven player left the ball carrier in, that does allow the Rodder to mark when it stands up. Probably should have moved to the right one, just to be away from that Rodder. And unfortunately, there's a turnover on one of the next hits. Now, Nurgle's standing players back up, and like I said, that Rodder is now marking the ball carrier, which wasn't really necessary. But unfortunately, gets an immediate 2-skull roll, with no rerolls left. Dwarf sees the opportunity, immediately makes a roll to try and clear that Rodder off the ball carrier, but unfortunately gets one of the bad rolls on a 3-die block. Very, very rare, but it does happen. Now, if the Dwarven coach hadn't moved that player to that particular spot and moved them one to the right, that wouldn't have been an issue, but here we are. That's Blood Bowl for you. Nurgle player moves over to handle the Beast and Nurgle with a Rodder. Unfortunately, still fails the really stupid roll. Now blitzing the ball carrier to keep it away from the end zone. Luckily gets the knockdown. And the ball is caught by the Rodder. Makes it going for it, roll and fails though. But the ball is in a decent position for the Nurgle player. Dwarves could still easily take it though. Dwarf stands up his players, starts going for hits. Probably could have blitzed with the Troll Slayer before standing up the runner. Just like this, except then you would be able to move the runner to take the ball. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Then the runner would have been able to get going a little bit. But we have another runner coming from the back, ready to pick up the ball. No issue. Goes for a hit, and Tekithotei Septinariu is dead. Does he regenerate? No. A dead Nurgle warrior. That's a devastating loss for the Nurgle team. Those guys are about 110,000, I think. That's a lot of money. Nurgle warriors being critical for the team. Losing one this early really sucks. That's the second confirmed kill of the league so far, but surely won't be the last. Very good kill for the Dwarven team. Yeah, I bet the Nurgle coach was pretty upset when that happened. Dwarves going for the touchdown and fails the going for it roll on the final turn. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. 2 potential touchdowns made this match, and they were both failures due to going for it rolls. Really just the worst. And now the Nurgle coach has nothing left to do but try and get revenge for his fallen player. Just unfortunate. Well, there you have it. That's the end of the match. Not a whole lot to say, honestly. It's a fun match to watch. It was a sad match to watch. Lots of failed rolls there. Lots of turnovers. And unfortunately, we had a death, which is very, very sad, especially since it wasn't a lineman this time. Anyway, I didn't have a whole lot to say here because they both played pretty well, so I just sat back and enjoyed the punching. Next match is going to be myself versus Punk Rotten, another Nurgle team. And that will be a pretty interesting match to watch. Lots of good stuff happening there as well. Alright, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.